Renowned for its breathtaking scenery, winding roads and picturesque landscapes, the Lake District offers a road trip experience like no other. In this video, I'll be going on a scintillating journey to every corner of this glorious national park to uncover the secret behind England's best road trip. So if you're planning your own long weekend in the lakes, or even an epic road trip, I'll be unpacking everything you need to know and showing you all of the Lake District's hidden gems, from magical hikes to secret waterfalls. Hello by the way, thanks for joining me on this adventure. My name's Robbie Romes and I write guidebooks to help people just like you create unforgettable travel experiences. Now let's get into it. The Lake District is a UNESCO World Heritage Site located in England's northwestern county of Cumbria. It's long been celebrated for its stunning natural beauty, and despite its name, there's only one body of water in the region that's technically designated as a lake. Over the next 12 days, I'll be exploring the lakes in my campervan with my collie dogs Archie and Jem to help uncover why this really is England's best road trip. So hello, welcome, and thank you all for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you here with me for this road trip. So hopefully this video is going to inspire your very own road trip to the Lake District. Now I'm starting this trip in Morecambe as it's actually the first location in my road trip Lake District book. And what I'm going to do today is pretty much follow the coast all the way around to Barrow in Furness, which is just opposite where I am right now, across the water. And then from there, we're going to make our way from south to north, heading eventually in a west direction until we've covered pretty much all of the must-see locations here in the Lake District. My first stop was the picturesque medieval village of Cartmel, home to the famous Cartmel Priory, and more importantly for me, the birthplace of sticky toffee pudding. The village is certainly worth exploring with a number of restaurants, shops and pubs. The village shop is where you'll find a host of delicious sticky toffee puddings. Now to be honest, I went a little bit overboard here. And this trip has not got off to a great start at all. In fact, it's probably one of the worst starts to a trip you could ever wish to happen. Unfortunately, it looks like Jem has had diarrhoea all in the back of the van. Not an ideal start to the trip at all. It's literally everywhere. After that mini disaster, I made the drive to Barrow in Furness, making a brief stop at Ulverston, the birthplace of comedian Stan Laurel. I also walked the dogs on Walney Island before getting stuck into one of the sticky toffee puddings. I've made a bit of a mistake. I've ate pretty much the entire sticky toffee pudding. I just forgot to record that I was eating it. I just don't know what it is. It's just sublime. Absolutely delicious. If you are coming up this way, there is no question you have to try some of this sticky toffee pudding. Man. I'm probably going to get diabetes, but that is worth it. I'm really excited today. As you can see, the weather is glorious. And it's the first full day exploring the Lake District. I ended up staying in the campervan in this little car park behind me, which is just behind Furness Abbey. This is the first stop of today actually. It was a former Cistercian monastery set up in 1123 and the impressive remains are here to be explored. Now this site belongs to English Heritage and I believe if you buy tickets online they're going to cost about £7.50. The last few years doing these road trip guidebooks, doing these road trips, I've been fortunate enough to visit a number of these medieval Cistercian monasteries. And this is one of the best examples. It is really superb. So if you are interested in history or the architecture of kind of the medieval period, I would definitely recommend a stop here. My next stop was the dog-friendly Lakeside and Haverthwaite Railway, which involved a pleasant 20-minute journey from Haverthwaite up to Lakeside, where I'd get my first glimpse of the mighty Lake Windermere. Just chilling here in Lakeside. Now admittedly there isn't a huge amount to do here. What most people do, they get the train and get off at Lakeside, continue on a boat up to Bowness, or even as far as Ambleside. So that's something you may wish to consider, unless of course you want to come to the Lakes Aquarium, which is literally just by the train station. But I'm happy to just have half an hour chilling with my coffee. I'm going to fly the drone and I'm just literally sat by the lake. So we just stopped for lunch in a little pull-in near to Coniston Water, and the next location on this trip is Banishead Quarry, which also has a waterfall.
So to get to Banishead Quarry, it's going to require a bit of a walk. There are two sort of car parking areas that you can choose from, both of which I'm going to list the What 3 Words reference in my new guidebook. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. This is a place I've never visited, and it is somewhat of a hidden gem. Not so many people know about it. It's not in many guidebooks. Hopefully we can find our way up there. So I would say we're about 10 or 15 minutes into this walk. You'll get a view of the majestic Old Man of Coniston, which you may be able to see still got a bit of snow on the peaks. So far it's been absolutely beautiful. And if you're not into hiking up mountains or doing particularly long walks, I think this walk to Banishead Quarry could be the one for you.
Just set off from that walk, driving in the direction of Coniston Water, and I've lost power on pretty much everything. The van won't start. I ain't got a freaking clue what to do now. I don't have a clue. Not ideal. So the engine's leaking fuel, I think. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I don't know anything about engines. It smells like fuel and it looks like fuel. So yeah, not good.
3 hours later.
After almost 3 hours of waiting for the AA man, he fixed the problem in like 2 minutes. A fuel pipe had come off. Obviously I didn't know what I was looking for. He's popped it back on. So anyway, the road trip continues. I've come down to Coniston Water. And obviously I'm too late in the day now to hire one of the boats or do any kayaking. Could go for a swim actually, there's people swimming over there, but I'm not that brave. We've got some beautiful light, mountains just in the background there. And it's so peaceful, it's not very windy. There's ducks swimming and the water is very, very still. Me and my friends actually came here before and did the Ghyll scrambling. Gorge scrambling up in the copper mines. I'm not doing that on this trip. I wish I was, because it was probably one of the best experiences I've done anywhere in the world. But it involved jumping in waterfalls, clambering over rocks. It was so much fun, honestly. And on our walk up to the copper mines, the guy was telling us about Donald Campbell and the history of Coniston. So if you know about this story, then please correct me in the comments. But Donald Campbell attempted to break the speed record on water or something like that. Apparently to get the record, he had to go up the lake once, turn around and come back. Now unfortunately, when he went on the way up, he created a load of bow waves in the water, but on the way back, he hit one of his bow waves, the boat flipped, and the boat just disintegrated. Without being too disrespectful to Donald Campbell, I think his body disintegrated, and I'm sure they never found all of his body parts. But yeah, a little bit of history about Coniston Water. Now, I'm feeling a little bit impulsive, and what that means is I'm actually going to drive away from Coniston. I'm not going to do the Coniston Copper Mine walk. So right now, I'm actually going to drive to Wasdale Head via the Hardknott Pass. Now, this is a route that's not advised for larger camper vans, motorhomes, that kind of thing. I'm attempting it now because it's late on. Hopefully, won't be much traffic to pass on the way. The whole reason I'm going to Wasdale Head tonight is that I'm planning to do Scafell or Scafell Pike, which is England's highest mountain, tomorrow morning. The reason that I've changed plan is that I've checked the weather and the forecast for tomorrow is going to be pretty good, especially in the morning. I've got an interesting story about Scafell that I'll probably tell you tomorrow, but I need to go back there, climb it and exercise some demons. Let's just say that. Wish me luck on this drive because it's going to probably get hairy. This is a tight, steep, winding mountain pass that I could end up in trouble in, and after the day I've had, I don't know why I'm attempting this. It just doesn't make any sense. A wise person, a sensible person, definitely not me, would just camp here for the night, but that's not what I'm going to do. seen on YouTube a number of motorhomes and campervans, including a Peugeot Boxer like the one I'm driving, get stuck on that and roll back. So I'm hoping I can just build up enough speed now and just go for it. This road is absolute chaos. I would not advise it probably in something this size. I'm worried about my clutch, to be brutally honest with you. My wheels were skidding at one point then. Just that section there, just so many hairpin bends, and then it's just pure chaos, pure gradients. There was one hairpin in particular that it was like that. I just about made it. I've no idea how. My van has been making weird noises. I'm worried that the brakes are going to fail, the clutch is going to go. If you want my honest opinion, if you're driving a Peugeot Boxer or something of that size and beyond, I would avoid the hardknott pass 100%. If you're in something like a V-dub, like a T6, a T5, a smaller van like that, I don't think you'll have too many problems. Coming up to 8:30, we're desperately losing light and I need to find somewhere to camp tonight. Probably the most chaotic, unorganised day I've ever had on a road trip, and I always profess in all of my guidebooks to plan ahead, have a route in mind, know where you're going to stay for the night, and I am defying all of my normal logic and breaking all of my normal rules. So I do apologise for that. Anyway, I'm going to carry on and see if I can find somewhere to sleep tonight.
The next morning I experienced one of the most beautiful drives of my life as I headed past Wastwater towards Wasdale Head. The morning sun was beaming through the mountains, creating a magical glow. After parking up and eating breakfast, I set off on the route up Scafell Pike.
The route I'm taking is actually the easiest. Say easy. It's not that easy, but it's the shortest. So in terms of exercising the demons, basically me and my friends came here a couple of years ago. We'd never done Scafell before, read online about it, and let's get one thing straight, we are rookies in terms of mountain, navigating, all that sort of stuff. You don't bring a map, we don't bring a compass. So basically what happened was we got about halfway up, and the guy that was all the way down was over and said, lads, just be careful. The visibility on the top of Scafell today is not very good. You'll be surprised at the amount of groups of lads just like you that end up on the wrong side of the mountain. You don't want to end up on the wrong side of the mountain because it's going to be about a 60-mile taxi cab back to the Wasdale Head car park. At which point, me and all the lads turned and looked at each other and said, "Nah, we'll be alright mate, we've walked mountains before." Fast forward about an hour, we reached the summit, and of course, it was covered in cloud. The visibility was probably 2 metres, absolutely freezing, hammering down. And we got a quick photo or two and then tried to find our way back down.
So we've got to the top and visibility's got to be 5-10 metres max. Of course, we've lost the path. We don't know where the way down is. We're scrambling over cliffs and all sorts. Jam's losing his mind. Can't beat a lad's hiking trip, eh?
So to cut a long story short, fast forward about 6 hours, we ended up on the wrong side of the mountain, I think in Seathwaite. We had to walk about 5 or 6 miles to the nearest hotel, who would call us a taxi. And the taxi back then was about 110 quid to bring us 60 miles or whatever it is on the road back to the car park. I know you're probably thinking, how on earth could it be 60 miles? Well, if you look at the geography and the road layout of the Lake District, unfortunately that is the only way to get back by road. So what should have been an experience lasting 3-4 hours up and down lasted pretty much all day. Cost us about 105 quid in a taxi. And I was just speaking to the guy from the National Trust who says that taxi fare now is about 180 to 200 quid.
This time around I used the Alltrails phone app to make sure I got up and down safely. About halfway up I met a localish guy called Glenn and walked the rest of the way up with him. From the summit he kindly pointed out several Lake District locations including Windermere, Barrow and Furness, and you know we could even see the Isle of Man. Now don't get me wrong, the climb up Scafell Pike is certainly steep, but man is it worth it on a clear day. It really feels like you have the Lake District in the palm of your hand. It's absolutely breathtaking. Okay, just before we get into the rest of the video, and trust me, you need to stick around to see all of these incredible Lake District locations, I'm just going to take 30 seconds of your time to quickly tell you about my new road trip Lake District guidebook. Now wait, I know what you're thinking, another Lake District guidebook. So what's so good about this one? Well actually, this is the only Lake District guidebook that contains incredible must-see locations, which come with what 3 words references, postcodes and QR codes to make finding them super easy. It's got so many practical tips in it, and it's full with itineraries, places to stay, including campsites, off-grid park-ups, hotels and glamping pods. It has the lake's best places to eat and drink, and even has room to write your own itinerary and budget. Now all of our no-fuss travel guides are written in a unique, down-to-earth style, so just imagine me and you casually talking over a pint. That's the tone we use, and it really seems to work. All of our books have become Amazon bestsellers, and we were featured in The Guardian's Best of Travel 2024. So please scan the QR code or visit robbieroams.com, where you'll be able to get the book for only $17.99, including free UK delivery. Right, now let's get back into the video.
So after our lunch at the Wastwater Inn, we've made our way up to Ritson's Force, which is a series of waterfalls, very similar to the fairy pools up on the Isle of Skye. Now the water here is an unusually turquoise blue, especially in the sunlight. Now getting to these pools is going to take you roughly 10 minutes, 15 minutes, following the path from the bar, which is actually at the Wastwater Inn. Now the path can be a little bit boggy, so probably bring some wellies or walking boots. And of course, if you're feeling brave, which I'm not today, I'm absolutely knackered after that hike up Scafell, you've of course got to jump in. There's a number of plunge pools and places where you can have a quick dip. I don't know if you can hear me over the noise of the waterfall, but it is so clear, so blue, so fresh. I wish I was going in, but I'm not. But yeah, if you're doing Scafell or exploring Wastwater, I definitely recommend to stop here because it is bloody beautiful. We're just walking back to the van. There is no way that there are many more scenic places in the whole of the UK. I mean, just look at this valley that I'm stood in with Arch now. But I think for years I've definitely underestimated the Lake District as a destination, especially for road trips. And there's going to be plenty of you guys at home thinking exactly the same thing. Let me tell you, so far it has been epic. I'm feeling pretty lucky that I get to experience another 10, 11 days of this place. Anyway, enough waffling. We need to get back to the van, get back on the road. I've made the drive round to Lake Windermere. I'm parked on the Braithwaite Fold car park. Now this is just outside of Bowness. It's about a 5-minute walk to the lake. Motorhomes are allowed to stay here overnight for £11.50. And if you are looking for a campsite in this area, there are a number around here. I've tried searching around to stop at one tonight, but unfortunately most of them require a 2-night minimum stay. I'm only going to be in Bowness for 1 night, so that obviously doesn't help me. And it's not a terrible place to be for 2 nights because there's quite a lot to do and see around this area. I'm going to do something really boring and tidy the van up. Jazz is coming to join me tonight. She's going to be here for the next few nights. Also at the weekend, our friends are coming to join us for a little weekend adventure around Windermere. Gonna have a shower, tidy the van up, eat some nice food, relax for the night, and then we'll start again tomorrow.
The following morning, me, Jazz and the dogs made the drive past Furness up to Castlerigg, a must-see town in the Northern Lakes packed full of eateries, pubs and shops. We'd planned to do the Catbells walk, but unfortunately the rain was torrential for pretty much most of the day, so instead we explored the shops of Castlerigg, enjoyed some food and completed the circular drive of Derwent Water, something I'd highly recommend. You'll take in wonderful views, and the best bit is you can enjoy it from the comfort of your own vehicle. Now I just need to quickly mention that the order I'm visiting locations in on this road trip isn't making much sense logically, so I wouldn't advise following it in the same order that I have, unless of course you want to go back on yourself multiple times, so I do apologise if it all seems a bit confusing. With Jazz and our friends visiting, I kind of ripped up the rulebook of never going back on yourself just so that they got to enjoy some cool locations. Anyway, I'm going to leave a free itinerary on my website to help you do it in a more logical way, and of course my Lakes guidebook has a number of these itineraries in it. So with the weather being so bad, we actually decided to stay the night at Lodore Falls, which is a hotel and spa set on the edge of the beautiful Derwent Water. It's definitely not a budget friendly choice, but the spa experience was superb, and you don't have to stay at the hotel to enjoy the spa. They offer spa days and evenings for as little as £50 per person, and it's a great way to wind down after a hike or a few days in the campervan. After a lovely breakfast, we set off towards Buttermere via the Honister Pass.
Now Buttermere is a place that I've never been before, and it's often touted as one of the most beautiful lakes in the whole of the Lake District. Now what was actually incredible that we really didn't expect driving down the Honister Pass was a couple of fighter jets, I think they were, just literally
flew straight through the valley above our head, caught us completely by surprise. I managed to get a little millisecond clip of them because I wasn't expecting it. If we weren't awake this morning, we definitely are after that. That was just absolutely mental. Anyway, we're going to continue down to Buttermere, and there's a waterfall just off the road around the corner from Buttermere called Mossforce Fall, so we might get a little glimpse of that as well. So our first stop on this little circular tour that we're doing today is Mossforce Waterfall. Now Mossforce is actually on the road between Keswick and Buttermere. It's quite a generous lay-by for a number of cars to park in, with a little path leading, I would guess, I don't know, 100 metres towards the waterfall. And as you'll see behind, this waterfall actually stretches for quite a long way. Now interestingly enough, I've seen a few people on Instagram visiting this place to do a bit of wild swimming. So there are actually a number of plunge pools and bathing pools you can access. Just a short drive down the road and we have parked up in Buttermere village. And I'm going for a little walk around the lake. Now one thing that's really good that the Lake District have done is Miles with Styles. These are some marked routes around the lakes that people, regardless of their mobility, can do. Now if you are interested in these really accessible walks in the Lake District, I will put a link in the description. So if you fancy walking around Buttermere, it's going to take you probably about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Just depends how many stops you're going to make to take some photos of this beautiful place. And with many of the lakes in the Lake District, the lakes themselves, of course, are beautiful, but more often than not, it's just these surrounding valleys, mountains, rolling hills that really make it picturesque.
We headed back to Windermere, this time on the west of the lake to a cottage in Graythwaite, where we'd stay for the weekend with our friends Laura, Ryan, Jordan, Lucy. Now fans of this channel will have seen this crazy lot before. Once they arrived, we enjoyed some dinner before heading to bed, ready for a weekend of exploration.
This morning we're going to go and visit a few places in and around the west side of Windermere, and then we've got lunch booked in Bowness at 2:30 on the opposite side. Now the first place we've come to is the Claif viewing point, which is a viewing station looking over Windermere. Hopefully it's going to provide some nice views. So the next stop on today's itinerary was meant to be Hilltop, which is the National Trust place where Beatrix Potter used to live. Now unfortunately we didn't pre-book ahead, and this morning they haven't got any available slots. So instead we've come to the next stop on today's itinerary, which is the Tom Ghyll Waterfall Walk. So you'll pass through the northern edge of Coniston Water, and then you'll park in the Glen Mary car park, which again is a National Trust car park. We're just a few minutes into this walk and it's already beautiful. There's streams, there's moss, the picture perfect woodland. So yeah, I think we've picked a good one. Next stop's a quick pit stop at Wray Castle. We're running late for a dinner booking we've got in Bowness, so we're only going to stay here for a short time. If you've got a National Trust membership, it's definitely worth a visit. When you come in, you might think the castle's in really good condition. That's actually because it was constructed in the 1900s, so it's not actually that old. Now with most National Trust places, you can't actually get inside the castle with the dogs, but you can get in the surrounding grounds. And one of the main features of this castle is the views out to the north side of Windermere, the Langdales and the other mountain ranges around the area. Definitely worth a little stop off.
We made our way to Bowness to enjoy some lunch and an ice cream by the lake before heading back to the cottage for the evening. So it was the last day with the gang and we decided to catch the boat from Bowness up to the quaint town of Ambleside for a fleeting visit before everyone else headed home. Located on the northern shores of Windermere, Ambleside is home to the mighty Stockghyll Falls, a 70-foot waterfall located very close to the town centre. No Lakes road trip is complete without a visit to Ambleside, and funnily enough, I decided to return the next day to explore the town a little bit more.
So good morning, today's Monday and all the guys have gone home after the weekend's antics. Now this morning, I randomly decided I was going to go and hike up a hill. So I'm actually making my way up Ghyll. Now this sits overlooking Ambleside, overlooking Windermere. Now if you actually park in Ambleside, it's roughly about a mile until you get to these trails. Now if you're a photographer like myself, there is a specific location here, and one in particular that I'm hoping to find in the next 10 or 15 minutes. I've even brought my tripod today. So finding this specific photo location hasn't been easy, you know. I've kind of just been following the path to a direction where I think it could be. I've flown the drone, I've seen sort of the same angle of the photo that I'm trying to get, and I've just followed the path and I've eventually found a specific place. So it's probably going to be a 5-minute walk from here, so I'm just going to bring the drone back, head there. I guess that's probably one of the only times I've used the drone to find something or find a place, but actually turned out quite useful, you know. Now you may have seen this unknowingly actually in a number of photos if you were just searching for the Lake District. Now it used to be a wooden style, but they've replaced it with some stones which I guess are a little bit more hard wearing. There are a set of rocks just next to it which gives you a nice viewpoint. Style in the foreground, Windermere in the background. So the lighting is not fantastic at the minute. But yeah, all in all, fantastic walk, and this view ain't bad at all really, is it?
After the walk, me and Arch explored more of Ambleside, including the famous bridge house, which actually used to sleep a family of 6, before we grabbed some lunch and then made the short drive to Rydal Cave.
So I'm just setting off on this walk up to Rydal Cave. Now this walk's only meant to take around 25-30 minutes each way. From what I've seen online and just driving past now, it doesn't look particularly difficult. I think this is going to be a nice easy one if you're in the Grasmere, Ambleside area and you want to stretch your legs for an hour without putting in too much physical effort. This is probably going to be the walk for you. Now there's one observation that I'm kind of making about the Lake District, and it's absolutely fantastic. There are a number of people who I would class as maybe 55 to 70 that are here out exploring, walking boots on, going up mountains, walking around lakes, seeing some of these beautiful sights. I actually think that's fantastic. Pretty inspiring actually. I just hope one day when I'm sort of 65, 70 plus, I'm still getting out and about. Hopefully, you never know, but now if you are one of those people watching this video, take it as a compliment, because it is very inspiring.
Just a short drive from Rydal Cave is the picturesque village of Grasmere, home to some wonderful cafes, restaurants, art galleries and the iconic Grasmere gingerbread shop, a place that you really have to visit when you come to Grasmere.
Grasmere gingerbread is definitely interesting. I don't think I've had anything like it, in the sense that it tastes a little bit like ginger biscuits and gingerbread that I've had before, but it's a weird consistency. It's almost like a mix of a biscuit and a cake. There is like more of a soft centre to it than just a crunch, which I wasn't expecting. Definitely no shame in trying it.
As you can see, I stuffed my fat face with gingerbread as I made the drive to an overnight park up near Matterdale End, which to be honest had bloody brilliant views of Blencathra, one of the Northern Lake's most imposing mountains.
So today I'm feeling really optimistic. We're just on the southwest shores of Ullswater. The drive down from Matterdale towards Ullswater is just epic. The lake opens up and it's backed by so many mountain peaks. It just looks really, really special. So we've actually parked up in Glen Ridding and we're going to get the Ullswater steamer, the famous boat here on Ullswater, up to the Aira Force waterfall, which is probably going to take us about 20 minutes. So I'm just making the walk up to Aira Force, and the waterfall itself plunges 70 foot into a dramatic valley. Now, there is a bit of a legend with this waterfall. and that there was a bit of a tragic incident with a knight many years ago, and him and his mistress now haunt the path and the waterfall itself. So maybe we'll see some spooky goings on today. So if you didn't fancy getting the Ullswater steamer up to the Aira Force waterfall, there is actually a National Trust car park, and so far the path up to the waterfall has been absolutely stunning. So we're just on the way back down towards the tea room, and from there we'll catch the Ullswater steamer all the way back to Glenriddig. I've just asked Archie if he wants a sausage roll from the tea room, and every time I say the word sausage roll he licks his lips. Just watch this. Do you want a sausage roll? Well, I've been and got Archie a sausage roll, but I think the National Trust are having my pants down. You want to see the size of this thing. Look at the size of that. It's like a kiddie's portion, right? Have a guess how much. Just put it in your head, put the figure in your head right now. This has cost a whopping £4.70, almost a fiver for a sausage roll. It's like a multi-pack Walls one from Tesco. But to be fair to Archie, he's been a good lad this whole trip, to be honest, so he deserves it.
We enjoyed the boat ride back to Glenriddig before a short and beautiful drive to Pooley Bridge. Definitely a place worth stopping at to grab some lunch or dinner.
So behind me is Loafer Castle. Now this place seems to have miles and miles of trails around its estate which are perfect for dog walking and just spending a little bit of time in the great outdoors. And if you are planning on doing a road trip with kids, it's got one of the best adventure play parks in the whole of the Lake District. If you do want to access all the stuff that's inside the castle, it's £14 for adults. Now, like me, if you just want to have a little walk around the front of the castle, perhaps walk the dog on the estate, you can do that for free. So I've made the short journey to the town of Penrith. Now it feels a little bit weird being out in the wilderness in the Lake District National Park to then come to a pretty big built up town. Whilst I was so close, I might as well come and check it out because I've never been here. And the first place I'm checking out is the Penrith Castle ruins, which are completely free to come and visit. Now this place was constructed in the 1390s, so this is a proper old castle. Unfortunately, there are a couple of things that kind of detract from the magic of this castle. One being the fact that there's a McDonald's there and a Home Bargains there. Not really in keeping with the castle's architecture. The other thing is there's a load of 16-year-olds in the park, hoods up, bags of beer. Not that I didn't used to do that when I was a bit younger, but I'm just trying to make this castle look good. So as you might be able to tell, we're back at Ullswater. So I've decided to get a campsite for the night, and this one's called Waterside House Campsite. The great thing about this is obviously its location. It's literally on Ullswater, and if you pay for a premium pitch, you can get a Lakeside one. And I do actually feel like I'm doing the Lake District a bit of a disservice in terms of campsites because I haven't shown any yet. Now at the end of each section in the Lake District guidebook, you'll see a few of the campsites that we've highly recommended. We've added a new feature to this book actually. At the back, we've got a full index of campsites across the whole of the lakes.
The next morning I woke up to a magical sunrise reflecting off the almost glass-like Ullswater surface. I then headed to the Castlerigg Stone Circle, located just outside of Keswick. On the way, I made a quick stop to fly my drone to the top of Blencathra, which was looking pretty magnificent in the sunshine. Dating back to about 3000 BC, the Castlerigg Stone Circle is one of the most dramatically sited of all the British stone circles with panoramic views of the Northern Lake District. So if you're planning a visit to Keswick, you absolutely have to visit here, and it's completely free.
So me and Arch are just setting off on the Cat Bowles walk. Now the walk around or up to the top of Cat Bowles is actually one of the most popular hikes here in the Lake District. Now if your general level of fitness isn't very good and you just want to get some epic views, park your car, motorhome or van on this road and literally just walk up to where them people are here. It's literally about 30-40 metres from the van, from the road. You're going to get this amazing view across Derwentwater. So I've just spent the last half an hour in complete awe at the top of Catbales. It's not the hardest mountain to climb. It's not going to take you long. There are some steep places, don't get me wrong, and depending on which route you go, you might have to do a bit of scrambling. But even just coming halfway up and seeing this view, surrounding mountains, and of course Derwent water in the background, it will probably change your life. And if it doesn't do that, you'll have a great time walking up here anyway. Definitely one of the highlights of my trip so far. And it is fantastic that you don't have to walk for 2, 3, 4 hours. You don't have to climb up almost to 1,000 metres. Just fantastic.
I made the short drive around to Newlands Valley to find a photo location you may recognise if you own an Amazon Fire TV stick. Now I know this sounds really random, but this location is used as one of the screensaver images on the Fire TV stick. When I got there was actually llamas in the field, which was an added bonus to be honest.
It's taken me about a 10-11 minute detour to get this photo. Completely worth it. I hope it comes out good. It was worth coming here for the views. So we're about a mile from our next stop off, which is going to be Whinlatter Forest, just up the road from here. It's got this pretty epic view of Bassett Lake and the surrounding valleys. I've just jumped out to grab a bag of crisps from the back of the van, sit here taking the view and eat my hula hoops, cheese and onion if you want to know.
Whinlatter Forest is England's only true mountain forest, offering epic views, fantastic walks, incredible mountain biking, and has a truly great visitor centre and cafe with a decked outdoor seating area. I'd definitely recommend a walk here, even just a short one, to take in the absolute beauty of the place. Oh yeah, the cafe ain't half bad either. I made a stop to admire the views of Bassett Lake, which is the Lake District's only actual lake. It tends to be much quieter around here, but equally as beautiful as anywhere in the Lake District.
So I've just made a fleeting visit to the Lakes Distillery. It's won a number of awards, both on the tourism and the single malt whisky category. Now if you plan ahead and book online, you can do some tours and whisky tastings, which is something I wish I'd have probably done. But today I've called into the shop and they sell different types of whisky, gin and vodka, so there is something for everyone. Today I've bought myself a bottle of vodka because I am partial to some vodka.
My penultimate location was the quaint town of Cockermouth, the gateway to the West Lakes. Cockermouth is packed with beautiful Georgian buildings, including the Wordsworth House and Garden, which was the birthplace of English romantic poet William Wordsworth. Unfortunately, the house was closed when I arrived late in the day, so instead I stopped to get my hair cut. Cockermouth is definitely a town worth exploring, with a number of great pubs and eateries.
So I've just pulled up on the lower promenade here in Maryport. Directly over the bay there you've got Dumfries and Galloway in Scotland, which is pretty cool. I've had a look on the Park for Night app and there are a few little overnight camping spots here. Now don't get me wrong, this is chalk and cheese compared to the campsite last night next to Ullswater, but the view will do me absolutely fine, so I think I'm going to stay around here somewhere.
It was my final full day in the lakes and I began with a walk around Maryport Marina, where there was a decent looking campsite should you need facilities and electric. I intended to visit the St House Roman Museum, but it didn't actually open until 11 AM, so I decided to move on to the town of Whitehaven. Also located on the Cumbrian coast, I decided to visit 2 museum attractions. The first was the very impressive Beacon Museum.
So I've just made it to the top floor of the Beacon Museum, and to be honest, I'm not normally a fan of museums. I normally tend to come to them as a bit of a token gesture just to get a bit of information. But I have to say, I'm so impressed with this one. If you are in Whitehaven, you've got to come here, it's definitely worth the money. I should probably say the reason that I think this museum is so good is the displays, the interactivity, there's VR, there's lots of screens you can touch and play with. It's visually great, and if you've got kids they'll especially love it, but even for me, some of the interactive displays and that were just fantastic, so well done Beacon Museum. This is probably a perfect example of how a museum should be, I don't know, but yeah, very good.
My next stop was the Rum Story, an immersive visitor attraction telling the story of the rum industry, the Jefferson family and Whitehaven's famous links to rum. Once again I was very impressed with how interactive this experience was. I also love rum, so I decided to grab a bottle from the gift shop afterwards, before getting back on the road and heading to St Bees.
So we've made a brief stop at St Bees Beach. If anyone's been to Brean Down in Somerset just by Weston, this place just looks like a complete replica of it. I don't understand how I'm not in Brean Down. There aren't any signs that prohibit you from staying overnight in your van, and it's only £5 for 24 hours. There's a little tea room to the left, there's toilets, could be a really nice spot for a bit of an overnight stop. There's a certain dog who loves watching the waves in the sea. Isn't that right? So our next stop on today's itinerary is Drigg Sands. Now this is a place that I wasn't sure I was going to even put in my latest guidebook. Didn't make the first draft which I've got in the van. But on first impressions, I am impressed to say the least. The nice thing is, just stood in the car park on the drive here, see all of the big peaks including Scafell, Pike, I can see the summit from here. So that's quite nice. There aren't many better backdrops to a beach than that. And of course there's a nice sand dune system here with a number of nesting birds, oyster catchers and many more that I don't know the names of because I'm not that much into bird watching. So far so good. I've made a quick pit stop at Ravenglass. Now this is the only coastal village in the Lake District, and if you've got a bit of time on your hands you can catch the train from Ravenglass all the way up to Estelle, which is meant to be a beautiful journey. You perhaps walk to Stanley Ghyll, which is a waterfall I'll be going to shortly, and then get the train back to Ravenglass. I also believe there are some historic Roman baths here, and not too far from here is Muncaster Castle, which is a bit of a mouthful, and that's where I'm going to head next. So I've just enjoyed a delicious burger down at the cafe here. We've just watched a brilliant little falconry display. I think that's one thing that Muncaster are doing pretty good. There's a number of attractions. There's a weapons hall somewhere as well. It's not just the castle. There are all these other bits to do, see and experience, including the grounds. Now we're just heading to find the Bluebell Woods now. Just through the gorge you can see Stanley Ghyll Fort. Reluctantly I'm stood on this viewing platform and I can feel it wobbling underneath. If you've watched this channel for long enough you'll know I'm absolutely terrified of heights. What's incredible, obviously on the right hand side you've got Stanley Ghyll Fort, a number of cascades coming through the gorge, absolutely beautiful. But then you've got the views of Estelle, probably Scafell, Pike somewhere over there in the background, the mountains. And you know something, it's places like this that make the Lake District absolutely magical in so many ways. I've been to so many places on this trip that I didn't know existed, and that's the real treasure about a road trip in the Lake District. You're going to have time to experience these places that you wouldn't be able to get to if you're only having a weekend or a long weekend here. And not only that, depending on what time of year you come, I'm here in late April, it's almost May now, and it's about 5 PM. Not a single person on this trail. I've got this beautiful waterfall to the south, and there's parts of the lakes, especially this side, the west side, the central falls, that are isolated, that not as many people visit. I've stopped at a place called Soulcroft Beach, which was a recommendation from Glenn, who I walked halfway up Scafell Pike with. It seems to stretch for absolutely miles. Another cool thing about Soulcroft is in the background, you can probably just see behind me-ish, is the Black Combe Fell. I'm definitely going to stop to this place. I think I'm going to throw it in the new guidebook. I'm just going to get the drone out to show you properly the scale of this beach because it goes on for absolutely miles. I also called in to explore the nearby Haverigg Beach and the town of Millom before heading back towards Windermere for my final night in the lakes. I've ended up staying tonight in Lakeside back on Windermere. The car park to the aquarium allows you to stay here overnight. It costs £5, you're going to need coins. But I'm going to be able to wake up and look out to Windermere for the final time on this trip, which should be pretty good actually. Just going to stick some tea on and then do a bit of photo editing for the new book, and then we'll pick it up again tomorrow. Really enjoyed this West Lakes. It is actually a place that a lot of people overlook. Archie's just robbed the chicken. So I'll see you guys in the morning. I woke up to a beautiful sunrise over Windermere before heading to the nearby National Trust Scissor House and Estate. Unfortunately, it wasn't particularly dog friendly, so we had a quick walk before heading straight to Kendal. So I'm stood at Kendal Castle, and behind me is the town of Kendal, which is a really historic place, and it's actually one of those places that most people who visit the lakes will probably drive past on the M6. There are actually a number of things that you might want to consider doing when you're in Kendal, especially if it's raining. Kendal Castle is completely free to visit. If you're in Kendal or the Lake District around bonfire night, they do a really good firework display here. And now sadly Kendal Castle is going to be my last visit on this trip. I just want to say a massive thank you for watching this video. It means so much that you support the channel and that you actually watch these videos. Hopefully you've been inspired to do your own road trip around the Lake District. It's at this point of my road trip videos that I normally give a little synopsis, a little overview of what I thought of the lakes. This one's really interesting because I had a perception of the Lake District. Like I said in the intro, I'd been here a few times for long weekends here and there. To be honest, I had no idea there was so much to see and do. And I always tend to think you can't fully understand or appreciate an area or a country until you've done a road trip through it. And that sentiment is so true for the Lake District. It's opened my eyes to a completely different experience, a magical experience, and one that I can't wait to come back and do some more of. I've been to many places on this trip, I haven't been to them all, and that just leaves me really excited to come back. It doesn't matter what you're into, if you're into hiking, water sports, sitting on your arse and enjoying the views, if you're a foodie, if you're a history lover, Lake District has something for every single person, and that's what's so great about it. Now if you've enjoyed this video, please support the channel by hitting the like and the subscribe button. And once again, if you want to go above and beyond that to support myself and No Fuss Travel Guides, the brand new Road Trip Lake District Guide is out now. It's got so many more locations that I've been to, like hundreds more. Overnight camping spots, hotels, B&Bs, practical information. It basically is going to be your Lake District Bible. And please stick around on the channel. I've got plenty more Lake District top 10 videos, best hikes, best places to stay. All those type of videos are going to be coming up very shortly. I just wanted to end by saying a huge thank you, and I wanted to dedicate this video to my dog Archie, who we sadly had to say goodbye to just a couple of weeks after this trip. Unfortunately, he was diagnosed with cancer earlier this year, and in a way it was kind of a blessing, as we managed to take the time and go on some magical trips with him and really treasure the time we had left. It's been heartwarming to hear how Archie inspired so many of you to take your own dogs with you on road trips, and I hope his legacy can live on for years to come. I can't thank you enough for all of your messages of support through this really difficult time for me and Jazz. Archie really was a once in a lifetime dog. He literally came on every road trip with me, he slept in between me and Jazz in bed, and pretty much the best dog ever.